CNN. Like, this is CNN. Dun, 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 dun. I can't remember it.
I don't. Okay, welcome to episode
we're recording.
4 of Harry and Andrew Have Nothing Better to Do. We've taken a bit of a break for the last month or so, just kind of being lazy. I mean, I'm not going to lie.
I did a whole lot. I don't know
No,
what you're
you
talking
didn't.
about. I went halfway across the country. Thank you very much. Did by myself.
For the month.
For a week.
And you were furloughed. What's your excuse?
Yeah, nothing. No, I was being lazy.
So, naturally, with a month break, we've both watched a fair number of movies, but we're just going to go over 3 of them, really, that kind of stood out to us, and we'll save a few for some other episodes here. But today we're going to talk about a solid 62-minute movie.
Oh, we're talking about...
We are going to talk about Lyle.
We're going to talk about Lyle? Okay.
Lyle, and then we're going to talk about... what was the Christmas one?
Oh, Better Watch Out?
Better Watch Out.
Okay.
And Starry Eyes.
Yeah, Starry Eyes.
So, and then we're gonna add a little bit extra here, where we're not just gonna tell you that some of these movies are shitty. We're going to also recommend movies that are similar to these movies that are an actual good example of that.
Oh, of the actual genre or the...
Yeah, well, I mean, it's all... We're pretty much doing the same genre.
Oh, man. You're going to have to make me think on my feet. I'm trying to think of what would be better
well,
movies.
Lyle's an easy one.
Oh, I know what you're going to pick.
Lyle's an easy one.
Lyle's... I know what I can do for Better Watch Out. And Starry Eyes... Yeah, no, we can figure that out.
Yeah. Okay. So let's start off with Lyle. This is one of the first ones that we watched back about a month ago. I don't know. I think I looked on IMDb or something like that, and it was surprisingly high of a score.
Yeah.
And so when we're searching for films, the first thing that we do is we look at the synopsis that they have on, say, like Shudder or Netflix.
Yeah. There's 3 things we do, right? We look at the synopsis, and generally the synopsis doesn't really tell you anything. Like, a female girl moves into an apartment and confronts something mysterious, which is terrible. Yeah, it's terrible. And they're not even good pitch lines. Anyway, so we look at the synopsis, we look at the user review / the score in IMDb usually, and then we look at the runtime. So we're like, well, if it's bad, then we only wasted, an hour and a half.
Yes.
This movie is exactly 62 minutes, which is crazy for a movie.
Which is a big reason why it stood out to me. But I also did it because it has a surprisingly higher score. And something, if anybody's listening that didn't know, IMDb scores for horror movies and thriller movies are very inconsistent, is what I would say.
And they have a different score because nothing is rated 8 through 10. Typically the highest score for a horror movie or thriller is 7.
Some of the best, more recent ones tend to be lower.
Mm-hmm.
I think that It Follows is in the 6s.
Yeah, which is
to me
pretty
is
terrible. Yeah,
the
movie's not perfect, but it's definitely better than a 6.
Incredibly well, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd say between 7.5 maybe.
Yeah, I give it an 8.
Yeah, close to an 8. Yeah.
Anyway, so we do that. And we kind of try to both agree on something. We're not. It depends on our moods, what we want to watch. But I forced Harry to watch Lyle. That was me. I'm gonna take the blame for that one.
I don't remember it being you, but okay, that's fine.
Yeah, no.
Screw you. Why'd you do that to me?
I think you didn't want to watch it, and I thought it had potential.
Yeah, I mean, so okay, it's not all garbage, but it is pretty bad. Okay, quick rundown. It's lesbian couple, youngish lesbian couple, moves into an apartment. They have a little kid named Lyle, probably 3 or 4 years old, and one of the gals is expecting. It's the girl from Uncle Buck. She was a child actress, and now she's in Transparent. I can't think of the actress's name, but she's the only famous person in the movie other than the SNL Weekend Update correspondent guy.
Oh yeah,
I can't remember. Michael Shea.
don't know.
Michael Shea, I think, is his name. Anyway, so she's not terrible, but the idea is like they move into the apartment. They're whatever. I don't even know what the jobs are. Like it's so indie bullshit hipster stuff. Like the breadwinner for the couple, she's like a PA or a producer on a show. And
is that it?
I think I think the gal who's pregnant, she's a stay-at-home mom. I don't know. It's just it reeks of.
She's an artist. I think she paints.
That's right. They move into an apartment in New York. It just reeks of like this is a pet project from a guy who wrote a script in Starbucks.
You know how expensive apartments are in New York?
Yeah.
They lived in this really big, old-fashioned apartment.
It's like
studio
nobody
style.
lives like that. Like these people aren't like I don't know. It's such that like come on, man, this isn't realistic at all. But obviously, so the movie moves really fast. It's the couple lose their kid because the kid falls out of a window
while she's painting
on a Zoom call with Michael Shea. She gets distracted, and then the screen like they don't have the budget. This movie is like made for like nothing, so they can't show the kid falling out the window or even.
I don't think you knew it until
it cuts to the next scene.
We didn't even figure out what had happened to the child until after the scene was over.
Yeah.
You just saw him like walk past the doorway or something like that, and that was it.
Right. And then it cuts to, 6 months later, right? Because she's just about to have the kid.
Yeah, because she's probably like a couple weeks away from her due date or whatever.
Right. And so they're like getting therapy, they're trying to move on, and obviously the gal that's pregnant who lost the kid while she was watching him, she's she can't get over it, and she's trying to, and there's these continual scenes where I forgot to mention the realtor or the person that moved them into the apartment who lives in the building, the landlady, she's like this weird, I think she has dementia or
she's like talking to herself at points
and says that she's expecting they establish this weird character because it's like the red herring, like his character
like 50 at least, like
like
she shouldn't be pregnant. And she is.
Right. So it's
probably the only interesting part about the movie.
Yeah, but they just glide over it because it literally it's a red herring. And the idea is that the main actress, I need to find out her name so I can people can have a frame of reference on what I'm talking about. She's trying to get over her loss. She's staying at home, waiting for the baby to arrive, and she's looking online at some news articles. She finds that not only as her child perished in this building, but multiple children have perished in this building, all around the same age, and they've all been girls, right? They've all been, they've all been girls because they need, so that's the idea.
Okay,
they need a boy, right? So Lyle is a girl, which is a terrible name. Like, can it be any more predictable that a lesbian couple has a girl named Lyle? Like, listen, you can call your kid whatever you want. But like, can't you just like that be the nickname? I don't know. Whatever. It's such like, oh come on, man. Like, could you be any more pretentious? Like, whatever. So New York. We live in New York. So she finds out multiple kids have died in the location, and there's this group of models that live upstairs. Yeah. So it's like a witch's coven essentially, and
but not really.
No.
Like you don't even know. By the end of the movie, you don't even know what the hell it really even is.
Basically, it's just like what we were thinking with Starry Eyes, is that a bunch of hipsters in New York were trying to write a screenplay. They watched Rosemary's Baby, and they're like, I can do that. I can do this movie. And it's not only is it terrible from like acting and writing, like it is not shot well. There is terrible continuity errors all over this movie.
Yeah, you pointed the one out.
Oh, it is hilarious. Like this is like basically feels like a student film. Yeah. I mean that's what it is.
That was bad for a feature film, something that's streaming on. That wasn't
with no names. Like these people aren't
Prime. I think that was Prime.
Yeah.
This wasn't Shudder original or anything like that. This wasn't some junky streaming channel that had picked it up. This is Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
And that jump,
pretty abysmal. It's pretty crazy at the end of the movie.
But that was probably
there's a lot of issues in that. Like also the balances, the audio issues.
The color correction's
bad.
Yeah. It's all over the place. It's just
the
quality. It's blurry sometimes. I get it. Like sometimes being out of focus is the point, but That's not what this felt like. This felt like the person that was running the camera didn't know how to focus.
Also, they can only film in the apartment, and they have no exterior shots, so they keep cutting to the one shot of the exterior of the apartment, which is like clearly stock footage.
Yeah,
and it's just not good. It's a waste of time. The ending is not even an ending. It turns out that the female partner, she's the who out of the couple who's not pregnant, she's in on it with the model who's a witch, and if they get a male son to sacrifice, then they will get money and all that stuff. It's basically the idea of Rosemary's Baby, right? Guy, the actor, the husband of Mia Farrow in the movie, he is going to sacrifice their baby
to
be successful, so they have the Antichrist, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same idea,
but
basically.
Everybody was in on it.
Yeah,
the
best friend, the guy from SNL is in on it.
And the old woman too.
Yeah,
she was there, but she like wasn't as confident in what she was doing at the end or whatever. But they were all in on it, like every single person, and it felt so not well done. It felt so just forced that because it's a 60-minute movie.
Yeah,
it's a 60-minute movie, and then you've got the guy from SNL.
Yeah, so
he's just there.
He's on a Zoom call and he's in 2 scenes.
Yeah.
So they clearly are like, oh, who else can we throw in this movie? Yeah, he's not a good actor at all.
But yeah, there was like a line where he's just like,
I'm not supposed to be here, man.
Like she didn't say that this was gonna happen. This wasn't gonna be part of the plan. And you're like, what is the fucking plan?
Yeah,
they never established it. Are you kidding me right now?
Yeah.
He's just here. Like, oh, it's the twist. Everybody's in on
it. They're gonna sacrifice the kid. It's pathetic, man. It's just embarrassing. Like it's exactly what it is. It's a student film. Well, it's not a student film. It feels like a student film from some coffee house script writer who had some famous friends to make a movie, and it's bad. And it's a shame because the lead actress, she's not a terrible actress, but it's clearly a favor for a friend. Like this is not. It doesn't feel like a real movie. It's not. It's you know.
It was pretty pathetic.
It's pathetic.
It was pretty pathetic.
So obviously don't watch this movie, but there's a lot of movies that deal with satanic cults and children, right? So obviously Rosemary's Baby.
That's the top one for me.
But you would also bring up probably Shelley.
I like Shelley. I think that's another example of like looking at ratings, like the IMDb rating of that, and it being low in my opinion. Like I thought it was a lot better than it was rated because it's like mid-5 or something like that.
And that's what it is. Swedish, Norwegian. It's a European.
I think it is Norwegian of some sort, and Denmark or something like that.
But it's the same idea, right?
But low budget, shot pretty much essentially just inside the house. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's out in the woods, but the idea is
Demon Baby.
Yeah, except it's more interesting because they don't directly say anything. Mm-mm. It's just how the character of Shelley is affected. And the parents, the idea is that the parents can't have the kid.
Right, so they have a surrogate mom.
This person who's been taking care of the wife because she was injured, they get so close to her that they ask her to also
offers
have
a kid.
And the parents aren't in on this. There's no cult. There's nobody like playing her. And so you have 2 different aspects. You have 3 aspects, right? So you have Shelley,
who's having the kid.
Who's having the kid and dealing with all this shit and realizing that something's wrong. And like essentially wanting to get rid of this child because not just at first it was just bothering her.
Yeah, and she didn't feel right doing it. Then it's like killing her.
It's also a terrible thing, and she needs to kill it because it's a terrible thing.
Right.
She knows what it is because it's growing inside of her. But then you have the mom,
surrogate mom, that doesn't want to let go of the child
because she's wanted to have a kid.
And then you have the husband that wants to support the wife, and he knows that she's gone like insane before because they didn't. Because they try to have children. That's kind of the cause of her illness, is that she can't have children, right? So then you have all this dynamic, right?
I love that dynamic.
Yeah,
all 3 of those characters, and especially the husband.
You're right. Nobody's in on it. It's all it's showing, not telling. You have to make your own assumption of what's wrong. Maybe the baby isn't a demon, but there's something wrong with the child, right? So
because it's not just it doesn't end up when the child ends up being born. Mm-hmm. At this point, Shelley's gone, and even the husband is like, there's something wrong with this kid.
Yeah, and then the mom figures it out after the husband go crazy. But then she just like in Rosemary's Baby, she can't stand losing the child, so she just accepts it.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, Rosemary's Baby, Shelley, go watch this movie. I'm trying to think of another. There's something else coming to mind right now.
Of what? Demon babies?
Yeah.
Antichrist?
I can't think of it right now.
I don't know. It's been a long time since I've seen.
But those
I saw
two.
the remake of The Omen, but it's been.
It's not
really
terrible.
long
Omen's
time.
okay, but Omen's a little bit different.
Yeah.
It's because the baby's grown up.
Yeah.
Essentially. But yeah, no, go watch Shelley if you haven't seen it. Rosemary's Baby for sure because it's a really good movie.
That one was. I mean,
Roman Polanski's a piece of shit. He's a bad person, but
that doesn't mean it's a bad movie.
yeah, it's a very good movie.
Yeah.
And Shelley's worth a watch. It's not perfect, but it's a good.
No,
little...
it's low budget though.
Yeah,
and,
and
like, you get like. It just goes to show you, and we've talked about this with the Headhunter and stuff like that. It's not perfect. There are definitely parts where you're going, oh, there's the budget problem.
Right.
Like I see that, but they're forced to be a lot more creative, and it shows you just how good the writing is and the camera work is.
Yeah, exactly. It's shot way better. Like Lyle's like the it shows how terrible it is. Shelley covers a lot of it, so you're like, oh my gosh, this is an actual movie, right?
And you know, Shelley to me had such dark tones. It had really decent pacing, and Lyle the whole time you're just going like, you don't even know what you're trying to do.
No,
like you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, none of the scenes have atmosphere. There's no build. There's actually one scene in Lyle I think that was done fairly well. Is when she's painting the room early on in the movie and she hears footsteps of a kid and it's not her kid. Her kid's sitting in the corner playing and you hear the footsteps like, oh, that's kind of a cool idea for an audio cue. But then they screw it up immediately after it.
No, that doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Either.
So obviously they're like, well, we have a couple of good ideas and whatever, we'll just fill in the rest. So don't watch it. It's a waste of time.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not good. Okay, so
was that 2014? Yeah, it was 2014.
Yeah, so the Lyle was
Shelley's 2016, I think. If I'm remembering correctly.
I don't know.
I have to look it up.
I don't remember. Shelley was just kind of one I randomly watched.
Yeah, I think I thought it was on Shudder, maybe it was on Netflix.
That was one of the first times that I started to realize just how off I feel like horror movies are rated on IMDb. Because horror fans are
for sure. Like we've talked about like
inconsistent,
like Demon from in Poland, like that movie. Even though it's not a perfect ending, it's a really good movie.
It's way better than the rating.
And it's like rated like a 5 or a 4.
Not good.
And I'm like, this is at least a 6, maybe a 7.
Pretty decent.
All right, so okay. Well, we can just move on.
Yeah, so that's Lyle. So now we can move on to Better Watch Out.
Sure.
Right. Harry picked this one.
2016. Yeah, I heard some some good. I don't know who told me it's a decent movie because it's obviously got a twist in it. So people are like, you won't believe the twist kind of thing. It's actually kind of surprising, kind of fun. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. Well,
the problem is that we were told there was a twist, and I don't know what else the twist would have been. Right.
Other than it's just a slasher movie. I don't know. But that twist is pretty easy to see. Anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves. But so Better Watch Out 2016. It's got Patrick Warburton and Virginia Madsen in cameos. I know, yeah.
It's a waste of actors.
Virginia Madsen's great, and Candyman, that's a really good movie. But
Sideways,
she's great, yeah. And Patrick Warburton, when he's not doing his typical self, like he's pretty good.
Yeah,
and I liked his character. Their dynamic was good. Yeah.
Less than 3 minutes.
Yeah. Well, they didn't have the money for him. Like, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, Patrick Warburton and
Virginia
Virginia Madsen aren't like top billed actresses,
no,
but
certainly not.
But at the same time, like, Anyway, but they have a cool dynamic as like this, like, they're not essentially like resentful of each other, but they're just this typical bitter couple that's been
like you could
married
tell
too long.
Get off on arguing with each other.
Yeah, it's like playful.
Yeah, it's probably the best part of the movie.
Right. So yeah, okay. So Better Watch Out. Christmas movie, Christmas horror. It's Christmas Eve, right? I assume it is Christmas Eve.
I guess the Christmas didn't actually matter. They're going to a Christmas party.
They're going to a Christmas party, right?
That's all I
So the
remember.
parents, the actors we mentioned, are going to a Christmas party. Their son, they have their single son who's like he's
like 13.
Yeah, something
12
like
or
that.
13.
and they have their typical babysitter, their usual babysitter, come over and watch him. She's like 18 or something. She's going off to college, I think.
Yeah.
And
So maybe the kid's like 14.
yeah,
It was
probably.
like 4 years or something like that.
And so she's got to watch him for the night, and he's obsessed with her. Like he's, kind of, it's playful. Like he's, obviously it's the typical like 80s rom-com. Like this movie's, it takes place in modern times, but it feels very 80s.
Yeah. Hormones.
Yeah.
Friend that's weird and
That's right. He has
wants
he
to
has,
smoke weed.
he has his friend that comes over that's the same age as him that just likes smoking weed and talking about boobs and stuff. And funny enough, the friend and the babysitter are in The Visit, the M. Night Shyamalan movie about the crazy grandparents. So they play the kids. I didn't realize it was the same people. But anyway, a little fun trivia. So parents leave for the party. Babysitter's watching the kid. The kid is like trying to get drunk with her and like trying to like, hey, your boyfriend's a piece of work. He doesn't care about you. Like, I've always loved you kind of deal. Like it's very awkward. And she's not buying into it. She's like, listen, I take care of you. I view you as family, that kind of deal. And then all of a sudden a brick comes through the window, and it's like, home invasion kind of style. Like, oh, somebody's after us. We don't know who it is. We don't know why they're here. And the big twist is that it's not really a home invasion. It's the kid she's watching and his best friend faked a home invasion to basically make her fall in love with him. Or
See, I don't really understand what the end goal was there, because really, if you think about it, what was he hoping to accomplish?
What's the result, right?
Because she was never gonna fall in love with him, and the problem is his character tries to come off as way more mature
Right.
and smart than
Omnipotent,
his
almost.
age would call for.
Right.
And so like that type of character would know what the outcomes were.
Well, it was almost like a double twist, right? Because they have the reveal that it's not a home invasion. Him and his friend were just trying to like scare her, essentially. I don't know what the outcome was then. And then what happens after that? They knock her out, or something else happens.
I think they pushed her down the stairs or something like that, right?
She's like, I'm gonna leave. Oh no, she threatened she's gonna call the parents and say, hey, why are you doing this? You're being ridiculous. And he pushes her down the stairs, like almost like an accident. And he's just like, all right, we're gonna go along with this. Like he's almost just doing it. It appears that he's doing it in the moment, but he's really not. He's planned it all out. So she wakes up, she's tied to the chair, and now he's he's basically like a serial killer, or like what's the word? Sociopath.
Yeah.
That he's got this whole plan laid out. He's got this whole plan laid out with him and his friend. They're like, they're gonna bring the boyfriend over of the babysitter, and they're gonna humiliate him, and they're gonna do all these things to her and mess with her. And then at the end of the night, they're gonna feed her Rohypnol, I think, or a drug that she'll like forget everything. And
They don't ever tell you why he does this. It's like, oh, I just want to do it.
they hint at that he's like he kills animals, and he's like a bad person. Like he puts on this act like he's a good kid, and he's evil for no reason.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest mistakes in this movie is that they do the quote unquote twist like within 30 minutes.
Right.
Like so she's tied up and down in the room, and everything after that is really reliant on the kids acting and the writing.
Yeah.
Right. And the problem is that after the twist becomes revealed, it's significantly less interesting.
Yeah.
And you needed it to be carried by character development, or I don't know, good action sequences, tension.
Mhm.
And I didn't get any of that out of it
No.
after the twist. It just became a kid that's really sadistic, and I guess they were counting on like the audience being disturbed by how far this kid would go to keep this thing covered up. But
So
really, it just felt like Home Alone, but
Yeah.
but with gore.
Right. So the idea, right, we're going to also talk about this in Starry Eyes, is like what does tone do to a movie, and what tone do you pick? Because in this movie they tried to do tongue in cheek, like kind of funny but also kind of scary, which doesn't really work. It only works like with Evil Dead, where it's like the perfect, like it's disturbing and gross, but it's also funny and over the top. Because at the end of the day, the story doesn't really matter. It's just the sequence of events, and then you're like, oh, it's kind of like a fun blockbuster kind of movie-ish. It's like it's a movie. Better Watch Out tries to feel like, well, this is real in its own universe. And if you're going to do that, you have to play it straight. You can't be goofy. You can't be like self-aware, breaking the fourth wall. Because in a lot of ways they do, because they use the paint can trick from Home Alone. And there's these moments where there's the happy Christmas music playing over the dead bodies of like the boyfriend.
I assume it was.
It has to be, because there was some pretty gnarly. Like they don't show everything, but
yeah, like when the guy gets hit by the paint can.
Yeah, it's R. Yeah,
they don't show.
Surprised they didn't show more for an R movie too.
Yeah, but like that's what you're saying, like not being able to decide what you're gonna do and what route you're gonna take. You know, so when you sit there and you watch it, and they've gone that more funny route, especially with the friend.
Yeah.
You know, he ends up killing his friend, but you just don't. I don't know. Like
which is a cool scene, and it's dark and it's scary, and it's like, oh, that's kind of how that would play out.
All that impactful.
Yeah, but it's not impactful because everything else is like a cartoon outside of it,
and
right?
And the character of the kid himself is unrealistic.
Yes.
Like he's too smart. He's flipped the switch as soon as his identity is revealed.
Right, and
he's just like, I'm very calm, and I'm a monster.
Right, and there's no, like, he's never bested. There's one scene where he's like physically like outmatched by the babysitter's boyfriend when he comes over because she's not responding to his text. But it's like,
but that was part of his plan too, wasn't it?
Right, that was part of his plan. Yeah,
that was part of his plan.
So for him to be, you know, bested by the boyfriend, only for his friend to come in and knock the boyfriend out too. Like it's a lot of things where like, well, this has to happen for this to happen, which is like, okay, that's not believable at all. Like, I understand it's a horror movie, it's a movie, it's above reality, but the movie takes place in a real world. Nothing else is fanciful, so it still plays the real world rules.
Yeah, there was a lot of like suspension of belief going on there, like especially believing that this kid somehow either planned all of it or adjusted well enough to handle all of it.
Yeah, the neighbors can't hear the gunshot in the house. The carolers don't see anything. They just see they're singing, and something happens behind them. They turn around, nothing's there, and they turn back. Like, come on, nobody.
Terrible scene though.
Okay, but like,
you understand what they're going for.
But people don't act like that. People don't just turn around like, oh, I guess it was nothing, and then turn around again. Like,
oh, that was a scream.
Yeah.
Oh no, it wasn't a scream. There's nobody there, so clearly I misheard it.
Right. Nobody hears the paintball gun in the back of the yard that signifies the fake break-in. Come on. Or the breaking glass. Nobody hears the brick through the window. Come on. In a neighborhood like that, people would hear. I understand it's Christmas Eve and people are out doing things, or it's, you know, maybe not Christmas Eve. It's holidays. People are out and about doing stuff. But come on, like, it's in a city. It's in a suburb. These things.
Yeah.
You can't just ignore all that. It's like when in horror movies, when they go out in the middle of the woods and the signal doesn't work on their cell phone. It's like, well, we have to eliminate cell phones because if characters had cell phones, they could just call for help. So we've got to, well, don't pay attention. That doesn't work.
There's a lot of clever way to do that.
So, you know, it's not terrible. It's just kind of like, oh, it's a kind of a neat idea, but the twist is so obvious, and the ending is lazy to me. Like, either they could have gone with like, this movie's really dark and this character gets, you know, he kills his babysitter, the babysitter's boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, and his friend, but then at the end of the movie she lives, and he's like, oh no, because he hides, like, his whole plan is he's going to clean up and his parents won't find out that he did all this, which is like, not believable at all.
In his room the whole time, because they set up like a,
oh, that's right, that
like
he sleepwalks.
Or a pencil. They put a pencil outside of his.
Oh no, he frames.
He
frames it that the boyfriend, the ex-boyfriend, they kill each other, and they killed the girlfriend, and they killed the friend, like in a like whatever, in a, I don't know.
No, he was framing it like he was asleep the whole time.
Right, he's framing it that he's asleep, but the other characters killed each other.
He has to take a sleeping pill every night, so he'd be zonked out so hard that he wouldn't have woken up.
Which that alibi makes no sense. Like, I mean, I guess it kind of plays for the movie, but like also like I don't know how sleeping pills work. You'd be able to wake up in the middle of like gunshots and other things, right? Like
at the end of it, I think that I don't remember the evidence of it all, but we were both just like, no fucking way.
yeah.
Like, there's all kinds of shit in that house right now that does not line up with this storyline.
Right. He like places the prints on the other bodies. I'm like, I'm pretty sure a 14-year-old person wouldn't be able to figure that out.
None of it really made
Right.
a whole lot of sense.
And the ending, yeah, whatever. It's fine. It's just it's not.
Well,
it's
the
not
ending
bad.
felt
It's
like
just
shock,
disappointing.
you know?
Yeah.
It's like here's some more shock for you.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, so obviously there's not much else to talk about here. Watch this instead of this. The Guest has the exact same ending, but The Guest makes sense, and it's kind of, I don't know. I like that movie more than you like it, obviously.
Yeah,
but I think it's
flawed.
But that movie.
Speak about some of the worst acting compared
Okay.
to other actors.
Listen,
I forgot about that. That mom.
The mom is terrible. She's not an actress. But in that movie's self-aware, right? It knows it's a movie, and the characters and the stuff, like, I don't know.
I suppose.
I think it's done well in that aspect. Like, it's still serious and dark, but it's also tongue in cheek. But it doesn't, like, it's not the same way Better Watch Out is like, well, it wants to have its cake and eat it too kind of deal.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I feel like that's a better example of what they were trying to do, but they failed.
For The Guest, yeah.
Well, in Better Watch Out, like, it's the same idea. Like, this movie is in modern day, but it feels 80s, and it's got the kind of the twists and the reveals, but the self-awareness works better in The Guest, in my opinion, or the tone feels consistent.
Well, let's try and figure let's try and come up with a movie that's more like
Oh, you want to do Christmas?
You know, home invasion.
Oh, then it would be the same director as The Guest. It would be You're Next.
Right. So Your Next is a really good one. Black Christmas.
Black
really
Christmas.
Good.
I haven't finished it. You have, so.
It's old, but it's good. Just anything where the suspense. I've heard the original. What's the one where she gets the phone call?
When a Stranger Calls.
When a Stranger Calls. I've heard the original one's pretty good.
I've never seen either.
I've
heard the remake. You watched the remake.
No,
it's
I've never
terrible.
seen the remake.
Oh, I thought you
no,
had.
no, God, I wouldn't touch that. That thing looks like even back when it came out, and I wasn't that into movies. You just look at a trailer like that.
Yeah, early 2000s horror.
Absolutely not. Because it was like 2005 or something like that, and you just knew it. You knew it was terrible.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, no. So I would say Black. If you're gonna go the Christmas home invasion route, You're Next, Black Christmas. But okay, so the difference between like you like You're Next, but you don't really like The Guest. Do you think You're Next is more serious and less like fourth wall or like self-aware kind of deal?
Actually, I don't think so. I don't think that I think Your Next is actually a little less serious than The Guest to me.
You think so?
Yeah, I think that based off of like the characters that they build and like at the dinner and kind of how she fights back is a little
tongue in cheek.
Yeah, like MacGyver-esque.
Yeah.
In its own way, it's comical,
Mm-hmm.
but she's a badass character without needing to really like be like, well, we need to explain why a woman is a badass character.
Right.
Like, she's just a surprise. Like, she's the element they weren't thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't happen in Better Watch Out. It's more like you don't know what his plan was. Even at the end of the movie, you have no idea what his plan was or what he's supposed to be accomplishing with this whole idea to begin with.
And it's flawless. It goes off without a hitch.
And what does he want? If he's a psychopath, what does he want? Does he want her? Because he tries to kill her.
He basically kills her at the end.
Because he knows he has to. But like, it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in Your Next, it's just simple.
It's monetary,
it's
right? They just
simple.
want the money.
They want money. They want inheritance.
They have a clear motive, and
and she's just collateral damage at that point. And She just happened to be something they weren't expecting,
Right.
which is simple and fun to me. And yes, there's so much else that has to go in there than that. You have to be clever with how it happens, what she does. She
The
has to be a
different
good
characters,
actress, and
yes.
she is. And I like the ending. It's just,
Yeah.
but I don't know. There's better watch out. It just, to me, it kind of fell on its face.
Yeah.
And I think it was just trying to make the girl character so hard that in the end she was actually kind of bland.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. She's a hard ass character, and I like that she's like not giving into what he wants. Like, it's almost like, oh, good, another man is tied up a girl to make her love him, essentially. And, you know, like, they touch her inappropriately at one point. And you're like, okay. But, like, give me more to her. Like, give me just a little bit more.
Wouldn't it be more fun if, like, the kid, it was all in the moment, like, he didn't know what he was doing, and he was just trying to do it because
he shows that he was flawed.
Right, that he was a kid.
Yeah.
He's not Norman Bates.
No, it's not
like
Ocean's 11 here, where like the plan goes off without a hitch until there are hitches, except they knew that the hitches were coming,
right?
So they planned it,
right.
Which I'm fine with in Ocean's 11,
right? Because it's a heist movie.
Because
that makes sense.
It's fun and clever. In this movie, they don't even explain how he adjusts. He just does, or what his original plan was to begin with. Or
what would happen if a police officer knocked on the door and came into the house? He'd be screwed.
There was tons of things that happened
that
he didn't plan for. His friend started smoking weed in the house. He didn't plan for it. Like, he's like relying on his friend to help out with all this shit. But then the friend legitimately starts to have problems with what they were doing because this was not something that he told him they were going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, I don't know. He's too calm for a 14-year-old boy.
Yeah.
I get that there are 14-year-old psychopaths out there. I understand that.
But they're also 14 years old, so they make mistakes.
Yeah, they always get caught.
Right.
They like always get caught because they're kids.
Right.
And I understand he's essentially going to get caught at the end of this movie because she's not dead.
Right, because she lives through it.
Right. But, I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's just kind of...
Yeah, it's meh.
After the 30-minute mark, it was very... Oh, okay, so you revealed the secret. Now what are you going to do?
Right. Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't like, making fun of something because it's clearly just it didn't work out, but it's miles above Lyle, obviously, because Lyle's not a movie. Maybe that's not a good barometer, like, just because the movie didn't do this, like, it's just kind of a waste.
It was almost like a spoof, or it was trying to take all the horror elements from those types of
turn
things,
them on
the
their
Home
head.
Alone thing, any like Christmas horror movies and stuff like that, but they didn't really even do that. It just felt like they were just kind of picking and choosing what they wanted to do, and it did not come together as one piece. It felt very, unfinished. Yeah, in a lot of ways, not refined. And a lot of that has to do with character.
Yeah.
I mean, they just really nobody really had a character that made any sense. She's hard, and she's like, not giving in to any of his demands.
Resilient.
It's like, okay, that's cool. But, I mean, let's be honest here. I'm a 34-year-old man. If that was happening to me, I'd be freaking out a little bit.
Yeah.
If somebody was like,
yeah, she never breaks.
No, and that's the problem.
Yeah,
she needs to break at some point. Or like, give me a reason why she is this way. Like, just
some backstory.
Yeah, I mean, like, because even in Your Next, they give you at least something.
Right. Sure. She was raised by preppers in the Australian outback.
Sure.
Right. That's all you need to tell.
I didn't need 15 minutes.
Didn't need a flashback.
Of her being trained as a kid.
Right.
It's fine. We're not taking this movie that seriously. I don't need to, but at the same time, I need to feel like this is a real reaction, and that the consequences are real.
Right.
And that would make the tension real.
Mm-hmm.
But at no point did it feel tense to me.
Nah.
Because I didn't care about any of the characters.
No, because again, it's the tone. It's like, is it campy and fun and self-aware, or is it serious and dark and messed up? It's both, and that doesn't work for this.
Yeah, we get to pick and choose what that is.
You can't do that. And
so speaking
of, it's literally the same conversation that we were having with
except to more of a frustrating extent in my opinion.
Yes, because Starry Eyes is a better movie than Better Watch Out. Okay, so Starry Eyes
had my attention.
Yes,
for a good half of it.
Starry Eyes 2014 directors. It's a pair of guys that actually directed the remake of Pet Sematary that we pooped on so hard.
So they've gone downhill.
Yes,
which happens.
But also, it's not too surprising because this movie is just. I don't want to say it's disappointing because it is disappointing, but at the same time, like, it's got some cool stuff in it.
It's disappointing because the first half is pretty decent.
Right.
It's not great. It's decent.
Yeah.
And they could have. It's just. I mean, we're going to talk about it over and over and over again. It's just another one of those movies that had the potential to go the right direction and focus on the correct things, and instead it decided to be a slasher flick.
Yeah, and not like subtle at all. Okay, so Starry Eyes, the idea is we see this girl. She's working in L.A. at like a restaurant. Tater Tots, right? It's a Hooters clone, and she lives with her best friend and as with her roommate. And she hangs out with a bunch of like hipster artists, all actors, musicians.
Very stereotypical.
Yeah.
With every, the bitch. The bitch that has all the underhanded comments.
Who's the best that's always trying to one up the main character.
Is the sidekick that's really dumb.
Yeah, she has like how many lines in the movie? 4?
The first, like 20 minutes, she doesn't like have any.
She has no line. She falls on her face and hurts herself. Then you got Noah Sagan from, or is that how am I saying his name? Anyway, the Ryan Johnson's crew guy. He's in Brick. He's in Looper. He's in all of them. He's like the up-and-coming artist that writes scripts and movies, wants to make his movie, but he only gets PA work. Lives in his van kind of deal.
I've got a script ready. We're gonna film
right. So all these people, they're caricatures. They're not real people. Yeah. It's the movie is it's the same idea. It's they can't pick what tone they want. They can't pick if it's a parody, if it's making fun of these tropes, or if it's a serious in this world. Like, these are real people experiencing like a part of fantasy or something that is above them, above reality. So the girl,
the halfway point here. And then we'll talk about where we thought the movie was going to go.
Okay,
or where
sure.
we thought it should have gone.
Right.
So she's going for an audition. She wants to keep auditioning for movies. When she doesn't do well or commercials, she pulls her hair out.
Right. She basically has like a they describe it as a fit, but it's like
it's a punishment. She's punishing herself for failing, essentially.
Yeah, it's similar to like what you like an eating disorder or something.
Which
like
they
basically
also at the beginning.
Yes.
She's like looking at her body.
Yeah, because she's
skinny.
She's very skinny,
and she's like looking at herself and clearly disappointed with what she's looking at.
Yeah.
So then she doesn't do well. She gets an audition. She goes for an audition called The Silver Scream from like Atreus Productions. Pictures, I think. And they were like a legitimate production company. And she goes to audition. They think she's not that great. They send her out. She goes to the bathroom, starts having a fit, which is good. I mean, that stuff's good. When she's in the bathroom, she's throwing her purse around, rips her hair out, goes down on the ground. One of the casting agents, or one of the casting directors that was there, was in the bathroom. She saw it, and she's like, where was this person at? Maybe we didn't see everything we wanted to see. Come back in, show us the fit. Shows the fit. Not bad. Like, all this stuff is eerie. You know, it's like, it's different. It's like, okay, what the hell do they want? You know, like, I didn't know what they were going for at this point, but I had some ideas. And
It's right after that it misses. Like
it kind
changes.
of does. I would
Because
say,
she's wearing like the pentagram, like they show it.
They
Like,
should have done that. Okay,
Yeah.
so then they show the
It's
they
too
show
obvious.
the pentagram on the woman, the casting
director. She's got like a
and there's a guy
pentagram necklace.
who's interesting, but ends up being a nothing character apparently.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
made him intriguing, but
Well, he's like snarky and above. Like he is ridiculous, but he makes sense for the character
yes,
in the
I was
scene.
fine with that.
Yeah.
But then they have, you know, she quits her job because she wants to keep doing these auditions, and she's pretty sure that she's going to get this part. She goes in for a second interview where they ask her to get naked, and they start doing these flashes.
Oh, they use
I thought
strobe
I was
lights
gonna
on
have a
her.
stroke
Yeah.
when I was watching this.
You need an epilepsy
Yeah,
warning for this
no
movie because it's
kidding.
pretty
And, like,
crazy.
I don't have epilepsy, and neither do you, but I did
Yeah.
not want to look at the screen.
Actually, I really like that
See,
scene.
no,
I
but
think
I don't know. I don't, because I'm just more like I just like this is annoying.
I think they used it too much. Like, because what they did is every flash they cut 3 clips together. They did the clip of her front ways looking at her. They did a clip of her profile with her transforming, and then they did another clip of literally just the bulb of the flash.
The bulb came
So-
first,
Yes.
and that's what bothered me.
Okay,
was
but they
that
used-
the bulb would automatically make me not
Right, and it blinds you so you can't see the rest
And
of
I
the picture. You
wanted
barely
to
see the other pictures.
So
So
cut the bulb out.
it's purposeful. No, listen. I'm okay with the bulb if they did it like every other flash. They do it too much. They do it every flash, so like you're just blind and like you can't see what's going on. Yeah.
And that doesn't make me feel like the character.
Okay.
Because I'm not supposed to feel like the character. The character is basically touching herself at the time.
Yes.
The whole point is that she's exposed. This is the real her, the one that's like really into this because she's naked, and they're like doing these flash strobe light essentially kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't actually, as the viewer, I didn't even get to fucking see it because I didn't want to look at the screen. And that's clearly not what they were going for. They were not going for, we don't want our viewers to not look.
Right.
I don't know what they're going for with the bulbs.
I think they're going for like they're purposely doing it so you don't see what, because they cut in flashes. They did kind of like what The Exorcist did. They just cut in frames of her like with fangs and bleeding.
See, I didn't even see
You
that.
didn't even see that?
No.
Okay, so that's the
Because
point,
I was
right?
looking away.
Yeah, it's too much.
Yeah, and it's like, well, okay, I get that, but then what's the point?
Right.
You
So
know,
if
like,
you
nobody's
can't
gonna
see
look,
it, then what's the point of
what's
putting it
the
in the
point of
movie?
putting
Right.
it in
No, I
the
get it. I get it.
Because then it's just going to make me want to either go back and pause it, which you shouldn't have to do,
No.
or not watch it again,
Yeah.
which I won't. But so all this is fine up until this point. The problem is that intersected between, we're talking about tone. We'll go back to tone here.
Mm-hmm.
Intersected between these scenes where she's auditioning,
And it's tense
and it's
and
tense.
disturbing.
You don't understand quite what's going
No.
on yet. What are these people searching for? What is wrong with this woman that she has to rip her hair out to deal with who she is as a person, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you think you're going to get some backstory, maybe something about her, like it's Hollywood. Okay, yeah, we get it. So but they're putting these friends in there
All
just
these
as often as the audition
Yeah,
stuff is.
they're filler scenes and they're terrible. All the characters, it's well, we've got the hipsters playing the ukulele with a cigarette in the pool, taking pictures of the girls jumping around in swimsuits. We're like, we get it, man. People are basic. I understand it's annoying, but like, make these real people. These feel like we're watching a parody. Like they're not real, and you can't do that in a movie where this character's having emotional stress and like and participating in a. I don't even know what the medical term is when you pull out your hair, because there is a diagnosis for that, but literally having like an emotional breakdown. You can't have that scene and then also have scenes where people are acting like cartoons.
Yeah, it takes away.
It takes away from that scene.
It's the same thing with Pat Healy in the
Pat
in the
Healy.
restaurant.
He's great, but those scenes
It doesn't fit.
Yeah, it doesn't fit.
And you could have done it more serious, and it would
It
have
played
fit.
him more creepy.
And it would have fit. Because he is creepy. He's creepy because he's staring at her, and they make it obvious that he's staring
but he's a
at her.
cartoon character.
But
at
then
that
he also
point.
has these really funny lines, and you're not really feeling for her character at this point because they really haven't given you any redeemable stuff about her. Like, if you want to build her up like she's some sort of really sweet girl that went to Hollywood thinking she was going to make it big because she had this talent, then we needed to see that at the beginning, the innocence broken,
Right.
like, but they give you,
and
so,
you gotta.
so we're about the halfway point.
Okay, well,
now.
also you gotta establish her drive, right? So you got like her friends can't all be artists, can't all be directors and art
Right,
actresses.
because they all have the same drive.
Right. They need to be naysayers and say, listen, you're just like us. You're not better than us. You're like a washed. You can't even act, but
Right.
you moved out here for the wrong reason. And then she needs to say, no, I can do this,
Right.
and show her like pushing things away and doing weird things in order for her to make it in like we only show her at a shitty job and her friends are kind of just bums. Like that doesn't make sense for her to like expose herself, go naked and have strobe lights on her. Like
giving you no reason.
no, she would walk out of that audition.
No.
She wouldn't stay there and do that.
But that's too big of a it's too big of a component of the film itself that when she ends up meeting with the producer and he's like, I saw you on those audition tapes. I saw who you really are and stuff like that. And you're like, I didn't.
Yeah, no.
Okay. She's doing weird shit. I get it. She's pulling her hair out. She's throwing a fit on the ground. She's naked. She's pleasuring herself, whatever she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I have no idea why.
You have no context of why.
Zero reason why.
You see the consequences of her like underlying issues, but you don't see what the underlying issues are. Other than she's like insecure.
Yeah, but there's been no hints whatsoever. Was she abused?
Right.
Was like anything you could say. Like, was she an orphan? Anything.
Yeah, you got to establish those things so that things make sense.
You're just basically grasping at straws.
Right.
You could go, well, maybe it's this. People that pull their hair, it's a symptom of a bad childhood. Well, that's fucking predictable. Like,
yeah,
give us more than that.
Maybe her mom was an actress and died like of an overdose or something. Like, why
drop a little I know it's been a few years since your mom died, and
right.
I know that you've been struggling and you haven't been, like anything.
Just do something, right.
I know that's a little on the nose.
Yeah, and that's very predictable. But at the same time, like it's better than nothing. Like
yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
so
let's talk about the producer scene.
So we're halfway at this point, right? And this is where you sit there and you go, okay, so where can they go? Where can they go with this? Because we still don't really know what what Astrea's Pictures is looking for, right?
Right, because the script is like nothing.
You don't really
you don't see the poster of the movie. You don't see the people that are casting it don't tell her about what the movie's about.
No, but you're intrigued.
Right.
I was intrigued at this point, going, what are they going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Give me something different.
Mm-hmm.
Give me something different. Goes into the producer's mansion.
Yeah.
Whatever it was. At this point, you've seen the pentagram on the woman's
necklace.
And they just went the easiest, most predictable route they could have.
Yeah.
And the guy starts feeling her up,
mm-hmm.
talking about, what are you going to do for this gateway role, which obviously is a euphemism.
Right. And it's like it's actions, not words, is what he says.
I need actions, not words.
Right. And she's like, do you want me to right. And he's like, she's like, oh, do you want me to read a scene? He's like, what part of the audition? It's like, this is the audition.
Right.
Like that's what it's so on the nose. And so she obviously she freaks out. She's like, open the door, let me go. And he and his assistant, the casting director, they comply, let her go. And I'm like, after watching that scene with you, like all I could think about is this makes no sense for if the movie's trying to be serious, okay, that fits. But if this movie is trying to be this over-the-top, like, satanic cult movie, which it is, that scene doesn't fit.
No.
Because also, the casting director, or not casting director, the producer who feels her up, he's a fucking cartoon. Mm-hmm. He's over-the-top, which is not eerie at all, because I see it coming a mile away. How interesting would that scene be if he's like, you need to prove to me that you're ready for this role. There's a knife on that table. Yeah. I need you to cut yourself and do this on the thing. Like, because you're not expecting it. And she's like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, this movie calls for transformative experience, not even acting. You have to be above acting.
You need to be completely unique.
Right.
And
so
there's nothing unique about that.
Right. Just
we
that
all know a bunch of fucking douchebags.
Harvey Weinstein, all the people that do shitty things. Right. So do something that's not expected, and do something that is more conducive to the idea of this satanic idea, rather than like you can make the argument that like sex is part of like devil cults or whatever if you're going with that, but at the same time, like it's just it doesn't make sense for what they were going for. At least it's too predictable. It's too serious, too grounded in reality for something about like the devil.
To
And
your point, they were looking for something different, right?
Right.
They're not looking for some girl that's willing to
how is she
give fellatio to a producer.
how is that unique? How is she unique than all the other actresses that they
Well, in my opinion, it was what she did, especially in the
with the
first
fits,
interview.
right?
With the fits.
Because then now it's like working backwards now. Like
this is interesting.
Okay.
Nobody else did this.
but she does that, but any other girl would, if they're going for like, we'll do this for the role, any other girl's going to do the same thing that
or they're
get
going
with the
to
producer.
hope that they do. Like the idea is that so it's not that every girl would do that, and the reaction of the girl pulling away when he starts to touch her is completely warranted, right?
Right.
And
And you sit there and you go, "That's awful. That's terrible." But based off of what they were looking for, why are they just looking for a woman that's willing to do it?
Right.
That doesn't make any sense.
No, because they,
You could have pulled any woman in and tried that.
right.
It didn't have to be this girl. I'm not saying any woman would have done it. I'm saying you could have tried it with any woman.
Sure. I mean, it's basically it's working backwards. It doesn't make sense. So we move from that scene. She hangs out with her friends. She confides in with her roommate that the guy was, the producer was expecting her to get with him in order to get in the movie. The roommate has a weird reaction, like that doesn't make sense to me. Like she's just like, nobody does that. Oh my God, he did that. Oh God, but you're better than that. Thank God you didn't do it. You didn't do it, did you? Like almost like judging her, which is like not what you're supposed to do. If you're a good friend, you're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. That was terrible. Can't believe that person did that. Are you okay? You didn't wish you did it? I'm sorry. Are you blaming her?
is one of the only other interesting parts in the second half is that she starts to go, well, I do kind of wish I had done it.
Yeah.
It's a different take. It's a different take. And I wish they had, I don't know, I wish it felt better than that. Like, I wish it had made a little more sense. Because you don't go and hide under a blanket crying because you didn't do it. You're crying because this man in a powerful position that was claiming to give you a role that you thought you were getting off your talent abused you or attempted to abuse you, and your dreams have been shattered. So that made sense to me. So then when it immediately jumps to, I kind of wish I'd done it, you go, that doesn't really make sense here.
Yeah.
Nor is it really
also
a great look.
It doesn't really work for this type of movie. Like if you want to do a drama about how a woman is like having a shitty life, she wants to make it in Hollywood, and she finally gets a chance to get a role, and then she gets confronted by a producer who molests her, and then she's like, well, I'm not going to do this because of that, and then she goes back to her shitty job, and she realizes her life is so shitty that she kind of wishes that she gave in so she could actually get a role. Okay, that's kind of a compelling drama, but that's not a fucking horror movie. Like, to me, that doesn't make sense. Like, if you're gonna do a horror movie about a producer and this whole acting idea, like, just go whole force with, or whole hog with the whole satanic idea and keep going that route. Don't go to the normal.
It doesn't even have to be a cult. In the end, I mean, like, so honestly, about halfway through, I thought that it actually was going to kind of be revealed that none of this was real. Like that she was going to these auditions and it wasn't happening. That she was so fucked up at this point in her head because she'd been ripping, like that naturally she just kind of devolved into this, like, oh yeah, I've been going to these auditions and it's going well, and all our friends are like, yeah, okay,
right. Well, we're only seeing from her perspective, rather than.
And so I kind of thought that's where they were gonna go with it, and you could have still gone a route where it was real, but it needed to be more interesting than a fucking cult.
Yeah,
a cult that of course, we were never really told anything about, other than it was a well-known production company that was doing well for a long time, and only in the last couple of years had it been struggling. But other than that, no reason to tell us why this production company was a cult. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
And it turns into a slasher flick.
Yeah.
It turns into her killing their friends.
Right, because
it's just dumb.
Yeah. So if we go with the idea that it goes different in the producer's office and she has to prove herself, like, so she obviously denies it. She's like, I'm not going to do that. That sounds crazy. And he's like, well, you're not suited for it. And she goes back to her shitty life. She realizes how crappy her friends are, how dead end her job is. And then she decides, well, I'm going to do it. She goes and does the thing that the producer asked her. In this scenario, won't be, sexually molesting her or abusing her. It'll be some weird satanic thing. Or it doesn't even have to be.
I also thought they were going to go that route, by the way. That when they went back.
Oh, that's right, because she makes the decision to go back and actually do it.
Goes back, calls like, I want to meet with him. And I was thinking, oh, like this would be a great opportunity to show us that he wasn't actually going to try and molest her.
Right.
He wasn't asking for sexual favor, that it just came off that way. And really, he wanted her to do something else.
No. He wants her to suck his dick.
Yeah, he wanted a blowjob.
Yeah.
And
Check this out. When she's blowing him, his hand goes to cover her head, and he has a pentagram in his skin on his hand.
And then there's people.
And there's people in cloaks and masks. Like, it's too over the top. Like, it feels like a cartoon.
How come that's not fucking banned off of streaming channels?
What?
They're in blackface. Come on.
I forgot they were.
But really,
makeup under the mask.
Oh,
No, they're not in blackface.
I know. They're in full culture, cult
guard,
and robes.
eyes wide shut, robes.
I mean, it's actually not terrible makeup. It's just there's no explanation for
but it's too much. Like, it's assuming that you know what's going on or that you've seen other horror movies.
Well, you don't need to know what's going on.
Right.
But then the last 20 minutes is just, she's like dying. She's dying.
Talk about
her friends are still being assholes to her.
Yeah,
not asking her how she's doing.
Having gore for no reason. Literally, there's a scene where she's like, they have this terrible editing where they have the producer's voice over montage footage of her like decomposing, like, you've got to prove to us, and beauty is worth sacrifice, kind of bullshit. And so all of a sudden she knows that she has to murder her friends in order to become an actress. She goes in, mercilessly stabs all of her friends, beats one of them to death in the head with a fucking weight, like a hand weight, which is really brutal. Like, they don't cut away.
That's also not how that would happen.
No, but it's just like, it's too much. You're like, okay, there's this is too much in the other direction, whereas like Better Watch Out was too little.
And you don't have any connection to this character. Yeah. This is the blonde that we've heard 4 lines from.
Right. She kills her, and then the one friend. Oh, that's right. She goes in to kill the bitchy friend in the kitchen,
who has one moment of redemption, believe it or not.
Right.
When she was like, "Are you okay?"
And then the other stoner friend, who's barely awake, crosses in the hallway, looks at her bloody and stuff. He's like, "Sup?" And then walks in, goes to the bathroom, comes back.
Yeah.
And then after she killed the friend, he's like, oh no.
Yeah.
Like, it's so ridiculous. It
would work if that's the style you were going for.
But at this point, the movie wants to be super serious.
Stabbed this girl. Yeah. And it's this very serious moment. And they're like, okay, well, let's bring this guy out.
Funny.
He'll bring it down.
Sup.
And then we'll bring it back up. And you're like, no, that's not how that works.
I left at the part where the guy walked in and said sup.
That's like a Marvel thing where we take a very serious moment and we put comedy in there.
Yeah.
And you can do that, but there's a balance, and that is not how you balance it.
It's a shame because this is a really cool. We always say this. This is a really cool idea for a horror movie, and it's unique. Like taking an idea, like it's a movie about a movie or about casting, about acting, and they don't even go in the direction you think they're going to go.
Didn't end up being that.
No, it had nothing to do with it. It was just the backdrop. It's just a slasher movie within that realm.
Well, and Hollywood was just the setting. It didn't really have anything to do with person struggling to live up to the dream that they thought Hollywood was. It's how it started, but it ended up being, it was about rebirth and.
Right, she kills her friends. Then the cult have like a ceremony, and then she's reborn as like this naked vampire demon.
Why?
Yeah,
I don't know. There's no explanation for it whatsoever.
It just happens.
That's just the way it happened, and you don't know what to say other than
okay, cool.
I'm glad it's over.
I'm trying to think of a movie that even is close by proxy.
Similar to it? Okay, so
if you're just gonna go the cult, I would guess like Hereditary, maybe.
Watch this, not that.
There's not a movie really about like sacrifice. Like you could make the argument against Rosemary's Baby because he's sacrificing like my child so he can be famous, and
right.
But it's not about him. It's about Mia Farrow like accepting that she wants to keep the child.
No, they definitely were going for almost like a Manson girl type thing.
Sure,
like, because the Mansons were cult to. So it was like a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood type thing, but I'm not going to recommend that one because it's not even in the same genre, but it's also not all that good.
Spoilers, guys.
Sorry.
Warning, fresh opinion.
Sorry, it's not that good. But there is, I do think that there are movies out there that are similar to this. I had one, and I already kind of lost it.
I can't even think of like a horror movie. There might just be like even just a drama that's about like, what are you willing to sacrifice in order for personal gain, right?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, like there's The Gift or The Box or whatever.
Oh, that's right. They gotta hit the buttons
to kill somebody, but you get $1 million or something like that.
Right.
But to be able to take somebody and show they're devolving into a different person, take somebody innocent, take somebody sweet and innocent, and like really expose them to a part of society and a culture that they weren't ready for.
There's a movie here I'm trying to think of where they take like a completely innocent person but had like issues in the back and then becomes like almost powerful and superior, but at the cost of becoming horrible and killing people.
Suspiria is one.
Suspiria, yeah.
Suspiria is one. We've only watched the remake, and I know we haven't talked about it on this show, but I was disappointed in it.
Yeah. But hey, listen, Suspiria, like, okay, so both of these movies are like, feel like incomplete, like issued movies. Yeah. Like there's a good movie hiding within this bad movie, but Suspiria more than that is a better movie than this.
For sure. It's definitely a better shot and like a more complete movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I complain about the ending all day, but at least it has scenes that I remember.
Mm-hmm. But that character even has a backstory because her parent or mom is dying of cancer. And it makes sense. Right. She's just trying to be a good ballet dancer, and she's the best out of the group. And to show how good she is, she basically is killing her friends in order to become a better dancer.
And that was the thing.
So maybe, that's the best comparison, right?
The thing about this movie was the only thing I wanted to know is like, why she rip out her hair?
Right.
They highlighted so much in the beginning of the movie that you go, like I just want to know why.
Mm-hmm.
Like what gets somebody to this point? Because I know it happens.
Right. It has to be incredibly traumatic too.
Yeah,
so.
and it's a build-up, right? Like it's not something that they just pulled their hair out one day.
No, they slightly itching and
And eventually it turns into that. And like, how do you stop yourself? Because you hear stories about this in real life about people that are like hypochondriacs and stuff like that, and you hear about them like maybe. Like somebody I know was talking about somebody that they knew back in high school, and they were kind of reclusive, but still fun doing stuff.
And then you become agoraphobic, right?
They will not go outside.
Right, so
they live at home.
You want to know
drive a car.
Why they do that.
And really, when it comes down to it, they don't actually have any medical conditions. Like they believe they do, but they don't. And you just wonder how that evolved to get to that point. Like,
and you can make the argument that technically you don't have to see the cause of an issue to make it impactful, but in a movie that doesn't really have anything else going for the character, you need to have something for us to.
I understand
where it came
these
from.
things don't always they don't come out of nowhere either. Like it does, there is some reason. Either it is an actual medical condition that ends up causing that in the long run, or it's some sort of traumatic event that happened in their childhood.
Yeah.
Because it could be as simple as like anxiety. Like somebody has social anxiety.
Yeah, but like
when they were in high school, and it caused it to get worse and worse and worse.
But you're telling a specific story about an actress trying to
she goes
become an
all
actress.
the way out to LA to be
Right,
an
so
actress, she
it would make
really
more
can't
sense
be-
as a story, as a written piece of fiction that, okay, well, somebody in her family was trying to be an actor or an actress, or somebody she knew, her cousin, friend, was a really successful something, but something happened to them. I think that's the same idea in Suspiria, that she knows somebody that was a famous dancer from one of these covens, the witches' covens, and they die tragically. I don't remember. Maybe I'm making something up. But at the same time, like, it just needs to work thematically, and it doesn't.
No,
Like,
it
it doesn't fit.
So those are our three.
Yeah.
You want to talk about The Terror a little bit?
Sure.
So we're not gonna go through a bunch of other movies this week because, like I said, we're gonna save some of the other stuff for next time. But we did watch the first season of The Terror together, and I think that we both thought that it actually got better as it went along.
Most shows will start high and then like get pretty lackadaisical, or even get really bad by halfway to like the last part of the season. But if anything, this worked in reverse, that it got better as we watched it.
Yes. Interesting, super interesting time setting. The adventure behind it of going through the Arctic, trying to find a new trade route through North America. I think they were talking about getting to Hawaii. Mr. Hicks ended up talking about Maui and stuff like that at some point.
Yeah, so 1840s, Great Britain, Royal Navy trying to find a safe passage through the Arctic Circle, and that alone is a really cool just drama.
Yeah, two ships,
piece. Right? Two ships,
ice.
limited crew,
Yep.
and everybody's got their own personality. You got to figure out what is going on. Like, this is just high tension. A lot of things could go wrong, and then they throw in a little bit of like a fantasy horror aspect into it, which kind of peppers in nicely. But the majority of the show is based on the real world, what's happening in the Arctic.
People.
Yeah,
It's about how people would react to being stuck in the Arctic for 2 years?
Yeah.
I think it might have been longer than that.
Yeah.
So they were stuck there for a really long time with limited provisions, people dying to this supernatural element in the environment. And like you said, I mean, it's actually a lot more prevalent in the beginning of the show than it is in the middle to late stages.
I'd say it's like in the first couple episodes, and then in the last couple episodes, really.
Yeah, and which I like. I enjoyed that they
focus on the right things. Yeah.
I can't say that it finished super strong.
No, the ending's pretty. I would say it's pretty disappointing.
They seemed like they were going on a really nice route, and then like we talked about this, where it felt like there was things peppered in there, like they kept doing these alternate timeline, taking place at the same time, where it's
parallel things.
Yeah.
Alternate timeline.
Yeah.
It means there's like a different reality.
parallel storylines going on in England about how they're going to go send rescue parties to go search for these people that are stuck. And at the end of the day, it's just like, that didn't mean anything.
They don't do anything.
It was a big waste of time.
It's more of an afterthought. It's
Yeah.
time filler, which is ridiculous because the show is only 10 episodes, but I felt like it could have been longer.
It was very odd for both of us, I think, because we both felt like there was unnecessary stuff in it. Thus, it could have been shorter. But at the same time, I think that we both wanted like 2 more episodes.
Yeah, because there felt some characters they didn't do enough with.
It felt rushed.
Yeah.
The last episode especially felt rushed.
You could argue it was budget because obviously this is a period drama. You've got Jared Harris, you've got Ciarán Hinds, and the other guy from Game of Thrones. So you've got some top billed British actors, and this stuff isn't cheap. The place where they have to film, obviously it's on sound sets, but I think they filmed some of it in. They got to film some of it in Alaska or Canada, or
I would assume Canada,
wherever. So all of this is expensive. So, and period costumes, the sets, the ships, like all, and the supernatural element is, spoiler alert, it's an abominable monster. It's I guess they describe it as a bear, but it's like more like a
spirit wearing
spirit
animals fur, essentially, is what they call it.
So it's like a gigantic monster. It's all CG, obviously, and they do a good job of hiding that their limitations.
It doesn't look good.
But in for instance, in like the last episode, they just obviously just don't show a lot. There's a lot of things that happen off screen because they don't have the money for it.
Yeah,
and that's the biggest complaint, I think, because all the acting, the writing,
acting's great.
The different characters. There's a few characters that are kind of out of place, and they don't really do
they
a whole bunch
unfortunately took one of the better characters towards the end and kind of did something that didn't make any sense with him.
And it almost kind of wasted him in a lot of ways.
Because they were building him up pretty well, and then
they
just made him into a
plot device,
bigger menace than he should have been.
Oh, you're talking about Hickey.
I'm talking about Hickey.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Good Sir.
No,
I think Good Sir they wasted too.
Because it felt like they were building him up.
Also, because his sacrifice did little to nothing, right?
It really did nothing.
So, Hickey. Yeah, they talk about another like Better Watch Out, another character that is just like Fliss and has like everything figured out, which
they didn't need to do because up until the last couple episodes, it did not feel that.
No,
way.
it felt like he was like he's a con man that just lucked out. He's going with what he was presenting. That one scene at the end of what episode is that where they've left the ship and they're gonna hang Hickey, and that whole scene is 6,
like 7,
something like that. That whole episode and that scene in particular is awesome.
Yeah.
And it's just like, we finally caught the villain. He couldn't outthink this thing because the captains are smarter than him. Oh wait, the supernatural thing is interrupting everything.
It's coming.
Right.
It's taking too long. You're like, nope, no.
Monster's gonna come.
That's not how this works.
But no, it's I think it's worth a watch, and it's got a lot of great scenes and episodes.
Really, I mean, how many? Okay, so the reason that we're talking about this, in my opinion, is because there really aren't that many horror TV shows in general.
Mm-hmm.
And not to mention good ones.
Yes.
And so like we could sit there and argue that maybe 50% of American Horror Story is good.
I haven't watched enough seasons to know.
Right. The Haunting of Hill House is very good.
I haven't watched it, but I've heard it's good.
Yeah. But really, other than that, I mean, I can't.
Yeah. Are you gonna recommend? What's another one that's popular? I've heard Bates Motel is good. But
I watched it and it was like, I just don't care.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, there's not a lot of like standalone seasons, like, because American Horror Story is anthology, and apparently The Terror season 2 is like it's completely different. So not good. But the idea is that they're doing an anthology series where each season is separated, its own story, its own setting. So there's not a lot of shows that can pull off like a single story, an isolated story that's satisfying and has characters that are doing things in ways that you're like, oh, that character would react that way. It felt like in this show, like every character was perfectly cast. Essentially, they everybody kind of fit their own puzzle piece in the crew, and had a good dynamic with each other. Now you can make arguments towards the last episode. Some of it kind of fizzled out, and they kind of wasted some characters, but they had a lot of characters to kill off essentially. So
I think that's one of the things that felt rushed.
Right.
Like, I'm fine with some of the stuff that happened to them. Like say the one guy that was thought that the captain had
left him. He was
left
hallucinating,
behind, and he just dies.
Yeah.
Thinking that the captain.
But it's almost
left him
doesn't make
behind.
sense that all the characters except for the captain have to die. Like you can have some that live, and they just live by happenstance.
Yeah, it was like I said, it felt rushed, and they just kind of killed everybody off. And then there's a moment where he finds the people that made it like the furthest.
Yeah.
And one of the guys had these chains.
It's a very weird scene.
On his
It's almost like
pulling down
a gore scene for no reason. Yeah, they didn't know what to do after Hickey like commands the monster and stuff. Like they didn't know what to do with the show, so they're just like, well, we got to end it some way, so we'll do this.
Which I was fine with how he dies, but the whole idea that Hickey was doing that to begin with didn't really make sense.
Right? They didn't. Yeah. Well, anyway, go watch it. We recommend it.
It's good.
And get your own opinion as far as what you think some characters should have done. But there isn't a lot of horror shows out there that are satisfying or at least that well written. You can make the argument that Chernobyl, even though it's a drama series, is a horror show.
Well, yeah. I mean, we've talked about
Threads
we've talked about.
Right.
You know,
But Threads is a movie, it's not a series.
I know, but like this idea that this is the real scary stuff.
Right.
Is
what
real life.
in real
Yeah.
life,
because
there are shows that are like that as well, like True Detective season 1.
Yeah, it's very that is more of a horror show
Comes
than
off as horror,
but
it's not.
right.
You know,
It's
really
a drama,
branded
whatever.
But
I found it very tense.
Character
Like,
study.
like
tension
is the
people say like
scared is the thing that
horror
movies do, but I disagree.
No,
I think
tense,
I would feel
disturbing.
tense or disturbed, and
I
felt tense and disturbed in True Detective.
Yeah. Season 1.
Season 1.
Not Vince Vaughn and
not
Colin Farrell.
Not fat Colin Farrell and very mediocre Rachel
And
McAdams.
Taylor Kish.
Yeah. Anyway,
that
is.
Do we fill enough?
all I've
Do we fill
got.
enough time?
Yeah,
we're over an
Oh,
hour.
we are. Okay.
Yeah.
But
we'll come back soon, and we'll have some more stuff to talk about that we watched within this last month.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Any parting words?
I can't think of anything.
Fuck you, Lyle.
Yeah, Lyle, you're
Fuck you.
Fuck
whoever
you.
wrote, directed that, shot that. If you worked on Lyle, you should feel ashamed.
Ooh.
Is that too much? I don't know.
No, I just hate the movie. I don't want to make it personal.
Yeah,
I just
right,
don't
right,
like the
right,
movie.
right.
All right.
Until next time.
Yeah, bye.
See you later.
Yeah, hour 20.
Damn.